Today, we are speaking with Annie Gibbins. Annie is the founder and CEO of Women's Biz Global, an organization helping to unleash the full potential of women in business. Annie is a true Renaissance woman with accomplishments in every facet of the business world: TV and podcast host, keynote speaker, best-selling author, publisher, business mentor, and leading voice for women in business. Annie has built this incredible business empire, all while raising a family of 5, including 2 sets of twins born only a couple of years apart. I'm really excited to learn more. Annie, thank you for joining us on Thriving After 40. Please, could you tell us a little bit more about your story? I mean, what had to happen to get you here today?
Oh my goodness, mountains had to be moved to get me to where I am today. Let me tell you, my journey has been the road less traveled, shall we say. It's been unorthodox. Here I am, a woman who's now been married 35 years. I had, as you said in my intro, 5 children actually, including 2 sets of twins, 26 months apart, and that was
Amazing.
when I was 23 and 25. So
Oh my goodness.
still this childhood dream of being a businesswoman who just left a really tangible impact on the world. That's all I wanted when I was a kid. I thought, wouldn't it be great to be one of these people who actually had not, I wasn't chasing power, I was chasing impact. I wanted
Impact,
to,
yes.
I always believe that I was born on this planet for a reason, and I wanted
Mhm.
to make sure that I created something. It was always tangible and that it mattered. It made a
Oh, I
difference,
love
not
this.
just for myself, but for other people. I always had that deep desire to
Mhm.
I had influence. And so the fact that I navigated 3 degrees and these 5 children and stayed happily married, and then now have I was a corporate CEO for 12 years, and now have Women's Biz Global. I pinch myself actually, Jolly, because it's like, wow, how did I get here today? It's been a miracle trip, but also one of incredible strategic planning and tenacity.
Right.
And
Oh, I'm
so
sure.
certainly did not just happen overnight.
Oh, and can I applaud you really quick for knowing what you wanted at a young age and actually going out there and getting it. That's fantastic as well. Now, and
Against
I'm
everybody, against all
sure.
the naysayers. Everyone said it won't happen. Let me tell you that straight up.
See, now tell me more about that because I was going to say, I'm sure this was not an easy feat, and I'm sure you had many challenges. So, right off the bat, I mean, dealing with naysayers, because that's something that happens often. I mean, there's been times in my life where someone that I went to as a mentor, hoping that they would lift me up, had said things like, "Well, are you sure that you're the right person for that?" More of a tear down. So, how did you deal with that?
Oh, I cried a lot. I spent about 15 years going, what a shame I can't be this person who I actually thought I could be. So I actually
Oh,
accepted it as a truth because I was very
mhm.
young in my, idea forming. So I remember being this 15, 16-year-old girl thinking, right, that's what I want to do. But I was also in a family that my father was a pharmacist, and there was this narrative, well, you'll be a housewife, and also if you did anything professionally you'd be a pharmacist so you could help your father and eventually carry on the business. So it wasn't a possibility. And then I'd say, but I want to be a businesswoman, like creating all these other amazing businesses, and I'd get all my ideas happen. And all I'd hear is, that's crazy talk. So that's a blanket statement. Makes
Mhm,
you think you're really unstable. That's
mhm.
crazy talk. And also, here's one for you. You will never be a good mum if you follow these crazy dreams. Oh my goodness. I wasn't even a
Oh,
mum, obviously, then, but I'm like, wow, talk about cut to my heart, because I want to be a good mum one
yeah.
day.
And talk
And
about
then
horrible stories we're given.
also crazy things like, but you don't have a financial head. I mean, what does that mean? What does that mean to a 15-year-old? You don't have a financial head. And anyone in business needs to know finance, and they need to love maths, and you don't love maths. And there were all these things that I went, oh, well, that's a
Wow.
shame, because I would have thought I'd be really good at it. So I did. I spent all these years going, I thought I'd be good. So eventually, long story short, was my father had 3 armed robberies in my final year when I was supposed to then become a pharmacist. So I thought I better do something medical so I don't be a total disappointment. So I picked nursing, which basically, when you think about it, honestly, it made no difference. It was either pharmacy or I should have just done business. But I became a nurse, and I was a mighty fine nurse, and I ended up then having to navigate 3 degrees around all of this because I then got married, I became a nurse, I did nursing, and then I did a master's of education, and then I did business. So I had this crazy life then over my 20s and 30s of having 5 children, navigating 3 degrees. And through that time, until I got to the business qualifications, I actually just thought, what if I could be more than they expect of me?
Right.
That was it. That was
That
it. It
and
wasn't
that's the
that I would
question.
reach the goal. It wasn't that I'd reached the dream. I actually just went, well, what if they're a bit wrong? And I could prove that they're a bit wrong.
I love it. I love it so much because I mean, thank you for sharing this because you were buried under all of those stories that so many of us are buried under. So many of us are buried under these stories that we've been given by other people and that we've just accepted because we haven't questioned it. So thank you for sharing. Thank you for questioning it and actually going about it. Now, how did you make that change though? Because that's a very big so you said that you asked yourself that, right? So you asked yourself that question, and then did things change? Did you start acting differently from there?
Yes, yes. I remember being around 28 years of age and having a massive cry on my husband's shoulder. And it was all around, at this stage, I was a success story, really. I'd got through school, I'd become a registered nurse. I had twins at 23, then I had another set of twins at 25, and I was about 28. And I'm sitting there, my whole house is full of Lego blocks and it's everywhere. And I'm so thankful. So I'm sitting there having one of these moments, and I'm sure so many women around the world have these moments of, I love my life. I wouldn't change anything. It's not that I'm not happy. I have a career, I have an income potential, I have my beautiful family. I'm happy. But then I had this, but is this it forever? Like I'm looking at my
Yeah.
life ahead of me, and I went, it was like this moment. What I was crying about was, why do I have these ideas that I see businesses everywhere? I see opportunities everywhere. I look with envy often, which was a shame, but with just jealousy of, well, I see other people doing things and I go, why can't I be that person? And then I had the reality of, well, I'm never going to be that person now because I've got 4 children in 2 years. And then I'd have people reinforcing that narrative of,
Absolutely.
Annie, your crazy dreams are getting crazier because that businesswoman in you is finding it difficult. But at that moment, once I'd had my mega cry, my husband just looked at me and he goes, babe, you run this household like a friggin' army sergeant. Like you have got so many skills. You're a nurse. You've got incredible problem solving. You run the household budget easily. You get something out of nothing because we were so young at that stage. You create things. You're like the junior soccer coach. You're this, you're that. You have leadership skills. You have business skills. You're an amazing lady. You've got to just start believing in it and don't go so bold straight away. Maybe just break it down into steps. What would you
Yes.
do? And I'm sitting there going, thank you for believing me. But I thought I'd be a more amazing person. And I'm like going, I'm blessed that I had that moment because I was just
Yes.
like, that's it. I'm going to be fat. I'm going to be the kid's mom. Because at this stage, I didn't even have a name. You lose your identity. I was called the twins mom. That's it. I'm like, do you
Yeah, I feel you.
Annie? Because you start
Hmm.
feeling invisible. You're chronically tired,
Yeah.
and breastfeeding everywhere. It's like, your role of who am I? It was, I'm sure every woman has these moments of
Yes.
just identity. Who are you born to be? What is your true potential? And it's going to take those moments of deep sobbing, I
Yes.
believe, at times to go, you know what, even though I found that really hard, and I've had a few of those moments over the years,
We all have.
they've all been shift moments because you have to get to your gut. What it does is it activates your true desires, not just
Mhm.
it made me dig deep to go, oh, I actually had the reality. If I'm going to do a little bit extra every single day, every single week for the next few years to try and work out who I am individually as Annie, I'm going to have to do it myself. I'm going to have to
Yes.
do it when no one else believes me, when other people might laugh at me, when they say things are impossible. I'm going to have to make the possible possible. I'm going to have to treat it like a game because the reality is a bit too hard to imagine. So I thought, okay, I'll make it fun. What could I
Yes.
do? And so I turned it into a game mainly because I couldn't cope with the reality of failure. And that's okay. You've got
Mhm.
to do what you can do. And then all of a sudden at that moment, I went and said, right, well, what can I do? And I was a nurse, and I thought, well, for nurse to become a manager, because I couldn't then suddenly do business. We had no money. I couldn't do an MBA at this stage. So I went, right, well, I could become a nursing manager. And that's going to help me. So I actually enrolled in another degree, and I thought I'll just do it part time. I'll do a subject to term, and I'll start doing that. And over the next few years, I got that degree,
Great.
a teaching degree, and then I loved uni so much. And to be honest with you, Jolly, I loved having the break from the kids. So then I enrolled in a master's because I got to go to uni because people valued education. Isn't that
Yes.
funny? The naysayers
Yes.
thought that was pretty amazing. So I'm going, great. I'd go to uni early just to have a break from the kids because apparently that was okay.
That was okay. That's
No,
acceptable.
so anyway, I became a bit of a uni junkie, and then I became a head teacher of a nursing school. And then I had another moment in there, and then I'll let you share because I then suddenly went, wow, I am a manager, I am a leader. I had like a $4 million budget, I had 28 staff. I'm like, oh, this is it. I've reached my moment. And everyone told me I'd done the impossible then. And at that stage, I was only probably 36, 38, and now I'm
And
55. And then I went, wow, imagine if I thought that was my summit. That was a summit.
I was gonna say that was just like a glimmer of where you are now.
I know.
Isn't that
I know.
incredible?
I know.
So
Incredible.
did you ask yourself, "Can I do more?" What happened there? How did you keep going for more?
Oh, so I then spent 8 years being this head teacher, getting other teachers upset at me because apparently I'd fast tracked. I was too young. Not the seniority rule was still very much in play. You know, it as you move forward, it unsettles others, and so
Yes.
that's challenging. Particularly because deep down I'm a real sweetie. Going, I'm sorry, I thought it was merit based. I just wanted to try because I've got all these crazy things in my head that says just keep trying. But anyway, people don't care about your story. You've got to do it yourself. So anyway, at
Mhm.
some stage there, I had another moment that I'd been this teacher for, head teacher for years, 8 years, and the kids were all in primary school. And I had another moment saying to my husband, I believe I've got some more in me. And he's like, oh, babe, this changed it though. This was hard. The first time he went and said, you can do it, babe. You're the best. I love you so much. And that was a prod for the next decade. This moment, he said, babe, don't leave what you've got. You've got paid holidays.
Mm.
You've got a really great job. You've got this opportunity that no one else has had. It's incredible what you've achieved, but it's enough. And I went, and I'd had this ad. I started, when you start looking at the job ads, and I saw
Mhm.
this ad for a educator for orthopedic surgeons of Australia, and they needed a person with a Masters of Ed, a nursing background, who just knew doctors' education. And I like this ad. When I saw it, I just went, "Oh my gosh, that's me!" And so I'm sitting there with this ad that I didn't tell him about, and then I got this response, and I just cried my heart out because I went, "Oh, my biggest fan, my childhood sweetheart." He doesn't believe in me. I'm like, I didn't care at this stage if no one else believed in me, but I went, oh, I was gutted. And then I went, I'm going to apply anyway. And I had one of
Yes.
those moments where I went, well, I'll just apply because applying won't hurt. It's not like I'll get in trouble or anything.
Yeah.
So then I applied, and then I got an interview, and then I had to tell him, and he's like, oh, what are you doing that for? And if you get that job, they're going to burn you out, and you're going to work you so hard. You're not going to be the gorgeous person that you are, and all this sort of stuff. And I'm like, who are you? Why are you not my fan? Right. And I was just
Yes.
like, this was really hard. Anyway, I ended up getting 3 rounds of interview. Apparently, I was amazing. And I got this job, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to tell him I've got the job. But then they offered me the salary. I got $50,000 more
Yes. That's
overnight than
amazing.
I had in my amazing best ever job.
Yes.
And I went, guess what, babe? I've got it. And he's like, and his face just dropped. And I went, and we got 50 grand in the bank more than we ever had before. And he's just like, oh my God, you never cease to surprise me. And I'm like, I know. But that moment, actually that was even though that was so many years ago now, and now I've met rock stars, and I've got the Governor General of Australia to be an ambassador, and I've run multi-million dollar companies. I've created my own seven-figure business. I now look back and go, that moment, for those of you listening in, that moment when you actually go, I'm going to do it despite anyone in the world.
Hmm.
Even if my best friend, my
Hmm.
best soulmate, if it's burning in your desire, if you lie awake at night thinking of something, it's doing
Yes,
that for a reason. If you
exactly.
look at an ad and it just springs out and says, Annie, apply, Annie, this is you, Annie, don't let someone else take this job, then apply. It's a
Yes.
calling. I just now got a lot more spiritual. I got into the magnetic laws of attraction. I got into the, oh my gosh, who am I not to be this person? I got to another
Right.
place. And if
Right.
I'm not this my best self, am I even arrogantly at that stage, I thought, robbing the world of this person that I could be? Am I,
Yes, you are.
am I not leading my children in the way that their mum could have been a better version of herself, and that therefore makes me a better role model, and it gives them a better environment? So I suddenly went from, oh my gosh, a dreamy, who could I be, to, damn it, woman, who are you not to be this person,
Yes,
right?
I love this
Right?
so much. Right.
That was massive.
Absolutely.
That was a seismic shift, I'll call you. Because after that, I'm like, I went from things are challenging, things are difficult, things are really hard to make happen, to, oh my gosh, if you believe that anything is possible, you just start trying for a whole different suite of opportunities. Your mindset goes and says it's possible. It's possible if you've got the money, the time, the connections, the tenacity, the boldness to actually, and then over my career, then like some of my connections, amazing things, took 4 or 5 times to come back and
Hmm.
go, I'm really surprised you said no. I just feel it.
Hmm.
And then suddenly you get a win because it's their right timing. What you asked
Right.
at the time wasn't wrong. It was just you're marrying the time and opportunity for two people. It's like a marriage. Sometimes
Yes.
you're great for each other, but not at the same time.
Yes.
And so I learnt that from then on, I went, if something's important to me and I get that gut feeling, I'm just going to pursue it and I'll see where it goes. And if I get it and it really is just not right at this time, I would have went, I got it. And then I am choosing if I take it or not. And I love that
Exactly.
sense of, for me, and that's what drove me to even now where I'm at Women's Biz Global. I do all these amazing things, but ultimately, my root cause is to help women around the world become financially independent and
Hmm.
fulfill it in an area that satisfies their soul.
It's
And what I
wonderful.
mean by that is it's so strong for me because when you're financially independent, you then have true freedom. Freedom is my number one value,
Hmm.
freedom to make choices that are safe, secure, healthy, empowering for you personally, and that makes you a better human being. If you're not
100%.
financially independent, you don't actually have freedom to make choices that
Hmm.
will impact every aspect of your life.
Yes.
So, and I
Mhm.
didn't realize, I didn't have this clarity. But when I then suddenly went, oh, I suddenly reached this stage and went, I have enough that I'm financially independent enough to make the choices I want, invest in my own self, invest in my education without feeling guilty that I was robbing family money, or that I always have to put my second to everybody. And that is, you want to be humble, but also you should I wouldn't have a question of spending a fortune for all of my kids' extracurricular and everything else. Well, why not see yourself in that same way that you all should be trying to be the best version of yourself?
Exactly, exactly. And that's such an important message that so many people need. And I just want to point out that really you wouldn't be in this position right now if you had not stopped and listened to yourself. And I really feel like there's so many messages that you just went through that my brain was pinging on so many great things. But when it comes down to that deep core of it, it's that listening to yourself, just like what you said. When something speaks to you, you have to listen, even if you have all those other naysayers, because it is there for a reason. And when you listen to yourself, magic will happen.
Yeah.
So I just think that's really beautiful. What you've learned through all of this process is got to be just absolutely incredible. I'm curious, out of everything you've learned, due to your profession, due to what you've been through, what is something that because of all of this that you feel everyone else should know?
Oh, I think it's that everything is actually possible if you just position yourself in that space. If you lean into your everything I do now, I think does every decision every single day. I go, does this decision lead me towards an empowered future or does it lead me away? Because I can't be looking
Right.
fully forward and fully backward at the same
Right.
time. And that's where I think we waste a lot of time and energy. We love what's forward, but we look over our shoulder.
Hmm.
We listen to the naysayers. We look at
Hmm.
other people. We get distracted by all of the little dangly shiny objects that everyone else has, and or we get anchored in those beliefs from our past that basically make us turn around because they annoy us, they frustrate us, they make us have those sobbing
Right.
moments, right? But
Right.
when we actually get to a space, and this is why I coach a lot of people now on how to actually identify what all of those are and to just release them, you're then able to fully look forward, right? And then
Hmm.
when you are focused with your 100% attention on the things that you're wanting to do, you're not busier, you're more intentional with your actions. And
Hmm.
all of my decision making now, I go, it's really easy. I had to make it really easy. I used to use two words. I even use it in my keynotes: towards or away. That's it. Every single decision, I go, is this making me towards or away from the person I dream to be, whether it's personal
Wow.
or professional? And I had to make it that easy because we had so many decisions every day. Annie, should you take on this client? Annie, should you align with this company? Annie, should you respond to this kid's melodramas? Is that the right thing? And my husband wants to go on this holiday, but I want to go on that holiday. Well, how do I actually manage my life? There's so many things that we are all dealing with all the time. And I had to go, right, well, what's my little formula? I went, all right, well, that's pretty much it is. Every decision, big or small, multi-million or just totally minor, doesn't move me towards or away from this future that I desire, which comes from my deep essence, which comes from the sobs and the cry and the voice, that still voice that I hear in my heart,
Hmm.
and is constantly evolving. I don't want to just get that person at 30. I don't want to just be that person at 40. I want to continue to evolve and find it. And the Annie of today has become quirkier, bolder, more eccentric, more fun, because I'm just leaning in to that person, and I can still do the hard things and I can do the serious things. But, how did it affect me? It meant that I didn't have to show up like a man as a CEO. I didn't have to wear a gray suit and act like a man. For goodness sake, there are already 94% of them in C-suite roles. I think there's enough to just show up as yourself,
Yes.
that I could come with my, feminine, lovely long locks and not have to act in a certain way. I could use my feminine energy in a business and the way I problem solve and the way I connect with people and use that as a superpower, right? In different
Yes.
environments. I could just choose. So they're all choices. We all have that negative voice in our head going, oh my goodness, how should I act? How should I
Hmm.
behave? How should I do this? And
Right.
and the how should I, basically you're letting yourself be like a ship in the wind instead of a rudder. You're letting the voice. Who are these naysayers? They're people who are not on your journey ahead of you. They're people who are on a journey behind you, and they're also people who are on a different journey. They might love you, but they don't know you in a way that you're trying to find out, and be this self. So it's not like it's a terrible thing. It's not like they're being negative. They think they're being helpful. Sometimes they're not, but
Yeah.
most of them think they're just trying to protect you. They're trying to
Yeah.
help you because that says what's happening in their head,
Yes.
right? But
Right.
for now, my advice to people, and this is why I do mentoring coaching, and my main program, signature program, is called Branded for Success, because I want to be, if I'm that person who is ahead of all these other people's journey and they appreciate my feedback, my experience, my expertise, my content, then I would be the right person for them because I am in their empowered future. I'm helping them go towards their goal. Whereas if I'm not that person, and sometimes you're not that person's cup of tea. You
Yeah.
haven't
And that's
haven't been in that industry. I
mhm.
can happily say no, you're not my client, but I would love you to go to this person or this person or this person.
Very
And then
beautiful.
they would also feel confident. They go, oh no, I'm not, that wouldn't add value to me. So I
Mm.
suppose I've made it more complicated. I think the answer is towards or away, believing that anything is possible. It's just aligning yourself, positioning yourself in an environment that says it's possible.
Yeah.
All right. And I
Yes.
learned this from my grandmothers. I learned two things from my grandmothers. One of them was born an aristocrat in Russia in
Oh.
the days of Tsar Nicholas, So
Hmm.
she was born filthy rich, right?
Hmm.
She ended up, so until she was 11, she was like, had a governess and lived on,
Wow.
camel farms and bits and pieces. So she grew up thinking she was like a princess, like Anastasia.
Yeah.
She ended up then, because of the fall of Tsar Nicholas in Russia, she ended up becoming a refugee and coming to Australia with nothing. But this gorgeous, eccentric woman actually just went, Annie, you have to imagine that you have diamonds in your pocket. If you have diamonds in your pocket, you believe that everything is possible in the world and you think like a princess. And princesses, everything is possible for them because they have the money, they have the connections, they have the environment that says all things are possible. And I'm like, wow, right?
That's great.
Then
And
I had
think
my
like a
other grandmother.
princess.
My other grandmother was the polar opposite. She was born dirt poor in Australia. Like, she was treated like Cinderella. She was Cinderella, right? So she had the other thing. Her mother left and ran after another man to a New Zealand when she was 2. She was left, with a family relative, scrubbing their floors and doing
Oh,
things, and told, you won't do anything in your life, right? And she was the opposite. She's the voice in my head says, Annie, everything is possible, but not for people like us. So we
nice.
have to work. We have to have a plan. We have to say not now. I hear you. I'll just take it as a comment. I thank you for saying that, but I'm focused. Now that woman from nothing ended up becoming a chartered accountant in her own time, where women were not professional women doing
Yeah.
it
That's
because of
amazing.
her focus and hard work and saying no to the naysayers.
Mm.
So I had these two collective women. Oh my goodness, Jolly. I'm actually I think I see a combination of the two of them. I go and say,
The best
I've
of
got
both.
diamonds in my pocket. I think of
Yes.
myself like what would a princess do in this moment? If nothing was a challenge or an inhibitor, how would I act? And then
Yes.
I also then go, great, I'm going to get that mindset and then I'm going to work my butt off.
Yes.
I'm gonna
That's the winning
going
combination.
right because I'm not the
Yeah.
princess. My reality is
Yeah.
true, but I also am then going to then I learnt the doors lesson. And what I mean by that is, yeah, you might be able to open a door, believe and open that door and say, oh yes, I could become a manager, I could become a CEO, I can become an entrepreneur. But many of the times that door's not open to you, and then suddenly you stop at a blocked door. And then some people go, oh, go around the door. And I go, yeah, I learned a lot of that. So I went and said, that's not possible. Well, how do I go around the rules, right?
Yes.
And I got very crafty. I got more flexible. That's where the agile workforce comes from. Be agile,
Yes.
be flexible, try and be innovative. And then I got to a stage in my very long career that we don't have time to talk about today. And then went, sometimes, Annie, you need to build your own damn door. And I went,
Yes. Yeah,
and
that's
that
true.
happened when I created Women's Biz Global, because I went, all right, after my crazy business and life journey that everyone who meets me goes, how on earth did you do what you've done? Oh my goodness, I want your energy, or I want what you're on. And I went, right, I'm going to create a business that is no one else has. It's a one-stop shop for women. So that young girl, Annie, could actually come and go, right, I've got nothing, but how do I get into an environment that would actually support me so I can actually jump into a pond who are all on my future road, right?
Mhm.
How can I have stepping stone courses that are affordable and achievable? How can I get mentored by you? But also, I've got like 35,000 other people like me in my network. So if it's not
Mhm.
Annie, there'll be someone in that pond who I relate to, I connect with, so that I could feel, and now I've become a publisher, so you can publish your books. I'm a media queen, so you can be on my TV show, podcast, bits and pieces. I went, wow, I'm creating as I go for the rest of the days I have, to actually have this place that go, you know what, if you're a woman anywhere in the world, you can actually just join, and then access when you need. And most of the stuff is actually just being there. It's just showing up. That's free. It's free
Mhm.
to show up.
Mhm.
And then you
Isn't that a
choose what
key?
you want to access at your time, according to time and budget, and then create that. So I created this environment that I can never imagine that I could have done. And that's because I thought of it like, what would my dream be, rather than think what would be possible. I changed.
Right.
Change. Instead of
Yes.
saying what's possible as a business, I went, no, what would Queen Annie create? And
Yes.
designed out Women's Biz Global that actually had all the areas. Well, women, if you're an expert in your area, you need to have a book. I need to become a publisher. people need brand elevation. All these women, if you're going to shift the dial on gender equality and have women rising, they need to have a place where they're positioned and get a global brand, not just Australian, So I created a media company. I've got a coaching company. I've got all these things. And I'm like going, great, you just create it. And then you work out, you learn along the way how it works, and then does it just happen? No, you've got to be like my other grandma who goes, right, now
Yeah.
you're going to have to go and you're going to have to learn how to be a publisher. You've got to do the course. You've got to learn how to, present in a way that this works or that works. And I go, yeah, that's right. I'm this combination of going, yeah, dream big, but then act bigger than you can have imagined. And sometimes you have to act bigger and harder, and it's not fair. It's not fair. It's because you're a woman, and it's not fair.
True. True story.
Seriously, I've seen
Yeah.
so many women, and I love men. I'm not anti-men, but for the gender equality rule, you go, that's just, why would 6% of women be in C-suite roles in Fortune 500 companies? Like 6%. It's just not normal. It's not right.
Hmm.
50% of the population. So it's about saying, how do you position yourself? How do you align yourself? How do you make impossible things happen? You've got to change your mindset on what is truly possible, and
Exactly.
anything's possible.
Yes.
It just
It's
means
going
you got to find, do you open a door? Do you go round a door? Or do you start getting yourself into an environment that says, I'm going to create my own door, but I've got to know what I want to create. And that's
that's the
and
key.
that's the key. That
Yeah.
so many people get all excited in a little
Yeah.
moment of, woohoo, I'm going to be amazing. And but they've got no structure. They actually don't know what that means. And then they have a little rush, and then it all caves. But it doesn't have to. When you
No,
actually get that focus, like my grandma, you can go from cleaning floors to being, indispensable in a company, or
100%.
having your own, because you decided, well, what are my gifts and talents? What are my strengths, my values? What is my passion? And in any area of the life, it doesn't matter what it is. If that's your thing, go and nail it.
Exactly.
Put it on steroids, right?
Yes.
Just go. If that's your little thing, that's what you do in branding, right? You amplify it,
Hmm.
and make it your thing, because you ultimately want to be the one that everyone wants to work with. You've got to have the buzz, because that's business, that's life. And then sometimes
Exactly.
you can choose to go, oh my goodness, my life's so busy. I'm going to choose, like I am tomorrow, go off the grid and go trekking for a week, and actually
Wonderful.
plan your life around, all the other busy things that you create.
Exactly. That rest is just as important. And that, I mean, you nailed it. It's the universal truth of really the number one must is really knowing what it is that you want. But not only knowing what it is that you want, but taking it exactly like you said, taking it with that mindset I love this, the princess queen mindset. I love it so much. You just take that mindset, but anything is possible, and apply that to your wants and really deep dive into that. And then once you figure it out, like you said, you take your other grandmas, that hard work, baby steps. It doesn't even have, it could be baby steps too, but you just keep pounding away at it, and you will get there. And
Mm.
then just making those decisions. That was so pure and perfect, so easy. Like you said, I will never, ever, ever forget this. Thank you. This will be something that I carry with me. Am I going towards, or am I going away? So simple. That is magical. I loved it so much. You mentioned in there a superpower, and I love this because I do believe that we all have our own superpowers. I'm curious, what do you feel is your greatest superpower? How did you come to develop it, and how do you see it help you in your life?
I think my superpower is actually just, it's that confidence in my own self, that I now have just unstoppable belief. If I'm and it activates my desire for my value of freedom. It also just brings out unlimited energy. Everyone wants my
Mhm.
energy, right?
Yeah.
So one, I'm a freedom fighter. Two, and so therefore I act for my own freedom and family, but I also am, I'm super obsessed with helping other people have freedom themselves. So that's a driver.
Mhm.
I also have just got unstoppable energy, and that's a superpower that comes from that root cause. It comes from that sad 15-year-old actually, who says, oh, what a shame I can't be who I want to be. And then I turn that wound into a superpower. I went and said,
Mm.
if I if I channel, if I become this person that I believe I am, then that's gonna require a person who just shows up every single day. And it's constantly that I applied at some stage in my life. I learned about the 1% rule, which helped me because I had children everywhere. And I went, if I do 1% every day towards my future that I desire, they'll all those 1% will add up because they
Yes.
do take stepping stones. So that allowed me to go, oh, okay, well, I can channel my energy. I can direct my freedom desires. I can be comfortable and happy and satisfied in who I am and just release the baggage. So my superpower now is actually just helping women globally create magnetic brands that attract, because they describe me. I went and did this at some stage. I went and said, well, how do you describe me? And all these weird words came out like atomic. And I went, atomic? And they're going, yeah, you just go and go, pow, things happen. I'm like, well, that's really interesting.
That's
I would
that's
not
a good
use that word about myself, but I'll take it. And they're
yeah.
like high energy, high vibe, enthusiastic. And I kind of got this brainstorm that wasn't me saying, who am I? I actually, because your brand is who other people say you are behind your back, right? It's how
Yeah.
they describe you. So whether we like it or not, we're all a brand of some kind. And because we do business and life with people and they see us in a certain way. So I needed to go, well, I wanted to be my true authentic brand or my true authentic essence. And I wanted to take any wounds or disappointments I'd have that would rob me of being that person and make them my superpower. And the
Right. This is
superpowers,
powerful.
therefore, they were multifaceted. One, I went that Annie energy, that little girl at 5 who used to dance around and say, watch me, I'll do a show, I'll do that. I was obviously just like a self-obsessed showgirl child. But you know what? I was born to be that little girl.
Loving your own
I
energy is a beautiful thing.
I was born for the stage. So I went, okay, well, that's an important thing. So when people push me and they go, Annie, limit yourself or don't be that person, I
Mm,
actually went, I need that inner Annie, not just the 15-year-old sad Annie. I went, I need that 5-year-old self, that person. I went, I want her energy to come out into my every single day as much as
mm,
possible around the ebbs and flows within reason. I wanted her focus and her obsession. If we're doing a play, we're doing the play all day and we're all doing bits and pieces and we're going to map it all out, so I then create that same kind of energy to if I'm doing a strategic planning session with a company, if I'm mapping out, some amazing thing, if I'm
mhm.
reining in a new influencer or an ambassador for something or some project. I want to take those little bits that have been quashed, which will be spirit, belief, energy, focus, and actually turn them into a superpower. So now my superpower is Annie actually does believe anything's possible, but she's not, but she actually makes it happen, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
atomic Annie, magnetic Annie actually is, you know what? I was born to be that person. And now I actually have an opportunity through the world that I've created to not only make that happen for me,
Hmm.
uh, I'm able to do that for tens of thousands of women around the world and growing. So
So
what a
amazing.
blessing. What a joy.
Such
So now at this stage of my old age, I'm like going, wow, I'm on the legacy leaving phase. How cool is
yes,
that?
so
It's so beyond
cool.
me. Now I don't even have to be that guy. I go, yeah, yeah, I have achieved incredible things. I have done impossible things.
Yeah.
Now I go, it's not even about me. I'm financially secure. I love my life. It's like a drug. I just can't wait to who I'm going to meet that
I
day.
love that.
Show I'm going to be. Now I just go, I'm the princess with the diamonds in the pocket. I go,
Yes.
every day I meet really interesting people with really unique situations that the breadth of normal is so wide. It's just floors me every day on how unique and amazing people are. I read situations so I can see what their limitless potential could be. And it's just my job to actually go, if I have given the opportunity to be involved in that person's life and I can help them on that journey, which is just crafting their road to success. And,
Yes.
and also helping that person to know how are they going to measure their own success. Because I have
Hmm.
success measures, but my success measures are not someone else's, right? We all
Yes.
measure it in different ways. Is it the
Hmm.
fame? Is it the title? Is it the money? Is it the lifestyle? Is it the power? Is it the
And we need to
influence?
know what it means to
You
us.
got to know
Yeah.
what it is, and once you know it, My barometer now is, do I feel it?
Do you feel it?
So it's
Yes.
not knowing how you measure success, it's knowing how success feels to you.
I
And I
completely
want
agree. I
people
feel
to
this.
sit on that, right? So
Hmm.
when you're massively desiring and envious of other people, you go, I want to be successful. I want to be successful. So one, you got to know what you're trying to build, what that all means, and then going, how am I going to measure that success? And that's very easy to map out once you really get into the coaching of it. But ultimately, you'll have these moments of your life and go, I feel, consider I've reached that summit, which will then be a false summit because there'll be another summit till the day
Yeah.
you die, right? We're all going to
Keep
Everest.
living. Keep living.
Keep
Yeah.
living. Uh, at all those moments, I sit back and I go, oh, it's that feeling of, wow, I just love this feeling, because sometimes you can be successful. I've seen other people, I've had gains of amazing things that have reined in a deal or this or that, but I kind of go, yeah, I did it for someone else and I'm good at my job, but I didn't feel that. It didn't give me that
I understand this.
buzz.
Yes.
It didn't give me
Yes.
that zen. It didn't give me that,
Hmm.
that did it spark joy?
Yes.
For that. I'm
Exactly.
like, I
Exactly.
love that phrase because I go,
Yeah.
that sparked joy. And I went, no, it sparked joy for someone else. And that's good. But did it ultimately spark joy? Did it actually make me just go, oh my gosh, I'm seriously living the joy dream, which happened at all those lifestyle transition
Yes.
stages. It happened when I had my kiddies. It happens when every time I have gorgeous anniversaries with my man. It happened when I became that head teacher. It happened when I became that orthopedic surgeon manager. It
Hmm.
happened multiple times every time I then got opportunities to be a CEO of a company and to generally transition and flip it and build it into something it was born to be. It comes now daily. So it
Isn't
used to
that
happen at
beautiful?
stages and now it
Hmm.
happens daily because I'm in my space. I'm in my
Yes.
zone 100% of the time. And
You're
also
in that
women
flow.
listening in realize that is a journey. You don't get that overnight. You have to do the
Yeah.
stepping stones. You have to do the hard times to set yourself up. But what you're trying to do is get to a stage in your life, whether it's 40 or 50. And mine would have been quicker, by the way. So you can fast track this because I've done the hard. I've just gone, oh my gosh, how wide is my bow? But that's
Take
okay.
the lessons that they're learning from
Oh,
you,
do it
apply it to
so
your own life.
you can do it so much faster. But that's okay. But ultimately, you're trying to get that stage and go, how do I get the joy more often? Basically,
Exactly.
that's my dream now. I go, how do I actually be in a place most of the time that says, Annie, you're in your right lane. You are nailing your right lane because you're in that environment as your princess with your diamonds in your pocket that says,
Yes.
oh, where I'm at is where all the joy is.
Yes.
I
And
don't
for me,
have to worry about all the other things because now I don't care about them. It took me a
mhm,
long time not to care about them, which is not also selfish. It just says, oh, thank you, but you're not in my lane.
mhm.
I can see you
and
occasionally, but you're not in my space.
and that's okay.
You're not in my empowered future. You're not
Yeah.
helping me on my journey day to day.
Yes.
Which is
And that's
different to
important.
occasional, right? Don't
Hmm.
go fat
Yeah.
dumping your family or something just because Uncle Eddie annoys you. That's
Yeah.
okay. He can annoy you at Christmas. But day to day, how can you manufacture a life? Whether you're an artist, whether you're a
Mhm.
musician, a businesswoman, an entrepreneur, a small business person, just doing your career. How do you create a life in stepping stones that actually brings you towards that empowered future, that space that says, I'm going to measure my success in this way, and I know what
Yes.
my metrics are. And then ultimately, if I get all of that, will I be happy?
Right.
All right. Will I
Right.
feel like my life
Mhm.
mattered? Will I be
Mhm.
able to ideally even leave a legacy for those who follow me that I love and
Right.
adore? That to me is just pure joy.
I completely agree. I loved all of that. You know, I was wondering because you have climbed all of these different summits, like you said, you keep up leveling and up leveling. And even as you up level and you can have this confidence, sometimes when you take that next step, that imposter syndrome can come in. I was just curious, have you ever had dealt with your own imposter syndrome when you kind of jump a summit? And if so, how did you deal with it?
Oh, my view is Absolutely, yes. And everyone will, because when you push yourself out of your comfort zone, you feel unsafe.
Yeah.
You feel like you're a fraud. You feel like when are they going to realize I'm not the person that I've
Right.
bravely said? I've acted like the princess with the pockets, but they might realize that I'm not a princess. I don't have diamonds in my pocket, right? But also, I don't have it in that magical way. But I also needed to learn the belief in self that I did. I did the qualifications, I did
Mhm.
the hard work, I went for the interviews, bits and pieces. I remember my biggest imposter syndrome moment happened when I actually got my first CEO role, because the other one from when I was a nursing teacher to become this national manager of
Mhm.
surgeons, that was a real shift. But it actually, the job was just so interesting and I got paid more money. I was all more on a buzz. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my goodness, I hope that, it wasn't really imposter syndrome. I was more excited, and I was more worried about trying to make sure that I didn't burn out, because so my husband didn't say that wasn't a great idea.
Yeah, well, it's big.
That was,
Honestly, I believe the statistic is it's like 90% of, or even it might be 100%, but we'll be on the safe side and say 90% of CEOs deal with imposter syndrome. And
yes.
it's a
Well, that
study.
happened when I went from the national manager to then a CEO role. That was another one, that another moment of hubby going, really? And I'm like, yep, I'm applying for it. I believe that this is my moment. I'm
Yeah,
going to
you
be,
just do it anyway.
I'm doing it anyway. I'm not going to rely on that, because that could make me cry. That could make
Yeah.
me, I've done that through a journey before. I'm going to do it anyway. And he's like, oh gosh, she's a rogue one, this one. Anyway, so that's okay. But what happened was, the first 6 months in that role, oh my goodness, I'd go to work every single day going, and particularly every Thursday, the president of the company kind of would come in and want to know how things are going. And I would
Mhm.
just be like this internal panic attack going, he's going to find me out. He's going to know. Voice in my head. You don't have a financial head. You won't be able to do this. You won't be doing these crazy voices that I had
Yes.
from people that I respected, parents,
Oh, we all know
relatives,
these
whatever.
voices.
These voices were so strong, going, he's going to ask you something and you're going to not know, because of this, because of that. And so I did this incredible first 6 months of going, I hope they don't find me out. And then I got to the 6 month review, and then suddenly they love me. And I'm like going, oh my goodness, it was an aha moment that went, of course I felt uncomfortable. Of course,
Mhm.
imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome kicks in when you actually, it's to do with the way you value it. It's not the
Mhm.
situation. You have not valued that, you don't believe that you deserve where you're at, right? You don't
Mhm.
believe you're capable. So imposter
Mhm.
syndrome could even happen on my trek this week. I suddenly
Mhm.
go onto a harder trek, I
Exactly.
climb a mountain that I haven't had, and I instantly sit there going, am I going to be the weakest link? Are they going to think, why
Mhm.
didn't you do enough training, whatever? It
Yep.
doesn't matter if it's that, because I'm obviously a trekker, or if it's running a company, or if it's going in for your first board meeting, or whatever
Right.
it is. Any moment that says, you've um, jumped out of your comfort zone, and we can talk about that too, because I'm all into not jumping, to stretching the comfort zone where possible. We can unpack that one. But when you do that, it's you show. I was showing up and saying, Annie, I actually was still pinching myself that I got the job, but I didn't believe I was worthy.
Mhm.
When you're in, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they picked me. So they're picking me rather than I earned that. I got that degree, extra
Right.
degree, worked my butt off. I have got the experience. I've got all the right qualifications. That's why I went through a board meeting of all these men, and that's why they chose me to do this role. So why on earth am I? My problem was myself. I actually had to get
Mhm.
to a stage over that six
Right.
months. What changed at 6 months? All that happened was that I went to a performance appraisal, and they went and said, Annie, we're so glad that we picked you. You've been absolutely amazing. We're so excited about the time. And I ended up staying there for 5 years. And then when
Amazing.
I ended up getting my next job, a bit of imposter syndrome kicked in again, because I'm like, oh
Mhm.
my goodness, this is a bigger company. Oh my goodness, this is a big
Yeah.
place, right? Because it's uncomfortable. And
Yeah.
but what you need to do every time is, people go and say, oh, when that kicks in, just put it beside yourself, right? Just push it away. My view is absolutely the opposite of that. Whenever I have something that's going to be a block for me, I frenemy it. Right? I go and say, I
Yes.
need to know you. I need to
Mhm.
know what is happening in your head, Annie. I need to bring it out like it's a different person. It's like an
Mhm.
alter ego. So then I taught myself this. I went and said, right, stop. Annie, what is going through your head? You can't, you won't, you're not good enough, they're going to find you out, right? And if I actually start treating it like it's a person, I then
Mhm.
write that down. And then I go, right, I know you, I see you, I acknowledge you. And then I think to myself, right, what is the evidence that that actually is not true? I
Mhm.
go, I have the quals. I did go to a fair interview. I pushed,
Mhm.
I said I wanted to do all these things. They've said that that's appropriate. I've done all these things, right? So then I actually learned that there's a disconnect. This person in my head is
Mhm.
actually a person who is in my past. This is a
Right.
person who is a combination of not me. It's actually mainly not me. It's actually a
Mhm.
combination of all the negative spaces that have come in that have altered my perception of self, and I'm not that
Yes.
person anymore. So then I learned to disassociate. So what I mean by frenemy it, does that make sense
I
now?
know, I love the frenemy, yes.
Frenemy it. I go and say, I don't want to put you aside, because when I put you aside, I'm pretending you're not there. I'm
Mhm.
putting you down. But you are taking so much of my energetic space that you're there anyway. It's like a
Yes.
band-aid. I don't want
Yes.
the wound to be there. I want to
No,
rip
you're
that band-aid off.
transforming it.
And I
Yes.
go, oh, you're a bit of a festy little one, aren't you, Anita? I wanna look at you. You can see the nurse in me. I
Yeah.
go, I need to treat you. I need to make sure that I do absolutely everything so you actually over time go away.
Yeah.
And then you get to a stage.
That's great.
Now I could leap off mountains. Now I go, no deal's impossible, because I just go, yeah, I actually do believe it is, because I've seen it to be true and I have a different mindset. So now imposter syndrome would, like, I can't remember when it last came in, but on all of my, every time I pushed myself, it would always kick in. And it's
Mhm.
because you don't truly believe that you have earned that space, and
Yes.
you worry. A lot of it is fear of embarrassment, fear of
Mhm.
failure, fear of, just being humiliated, fear of, what if the naysayers got it right, all that sort of stuff.
Well, and it's
What are
uncomfortable
the
too.
limits?
Anything new, it just feels and it has that uncomfortable feeling in your body too, you know?
Which is why
So
I coach people now. I go, I'm not into, these people who go, leap out of your comfort zone. No, you don't. If you leap over something, you probably like fall off a cliff. And what it does is it activates fear instantly,
Mhm. Mhm.
because it's too much. And so
Mhm.
what I've learned, and I've had a few jump off the cliff moments, because I'm bold, right? I'm quite
Yeah, yeah.
thirsty, obviously, after this
You have to
conversation.
get to this, yeah.
I'm like, well, how do I get to that quicker? I need to
Yeah.
jump farther, right? But that's going to backfire, because it activates those inner desires, the inner voices. So unless you are equipped to handle that, what happens is it makes you go 3 steps back.
Mhm.
And then it
Yeah.
makes you have to build up, build up. So now what I actually do is, obviously those that I work with, we map out, let's get a strategic plan. Where do you want to actually go? And we incrementally shift the comfort zone
Mhm.
until
Mhm.
you get to my
Until
stage.
it's gone.
I don't think
Yes.
I have a comfort zone.
Yeah.
I kind of go,
Yeah.
"Oh, that's
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
we all do ultimately, but what that comfort zone is, it just stretches due to your belief of self, right?
Yes.
It comes down
Yes.
to your root essence of, am I actually happy that I was born for this reason? I feel like I'm qualified, able, capable. It's just, as my granny said, time, the connections, the money, the situation. If you have all of that, then it's comfortable. All
Right.
right. Plenty
Right.
of people in other situations are more comfortable
Yeah.
because of their environment. So that's what I learned along the way. And
Yeah.
now you frenemy it until you go, I know you so well and you add no value and I don't even care about you anymore. So gone.
I love it. Yes. I've always said that's what you should do with fear, and I've never thought about applying the same thing to imposter syndrome. It's brilliant. And you just gave us a very nice step-by-step process in how to get over that. So thank you. Particularly loved that question of, what is the evidence that this is not true? That really struck me. I loved that
Mm.
question. So now, I mean, you're an author, a publisher. You clearly have been influenced by a lot of different things. I'm curious if there is a book or a talk or a video that had a really big impact on you that you think other people would benefit from as well.
Look, I do read a lot of books. Now I read business books, like Scale Up and things like that.
Hmm.
Anything that relates to rapid growth. Now I'm into books that show you how to do things quicker, more efficiently, with less time and money and energy. So it's not specifically whether it's a finance book like, Scale Up, or whether it's the Power of One movie,
Hmm.
which, Nelson Mandela, then it's a principle of knowing what you're wanting and trying to work out um, how do you fast track that, but not only be a solo entity, how do you create an environment? If you look at, Nelson Mandela or
Mhm.
Barack Obama, I love his biographies because they're always about the collective. That you
Right.
don't move mountains with one person. You
No.
have to create a movement, and you have to change the mindset of those around you that says, um, what we had before was not good enough.
Mhm.
All
Yes.
right. So I love
Mhm.
the power of
Mhm.
one. I love, all business books, which are all about scale rather than growth. The reason is because growth says you manage a bigger thing.
Mm.
Well,
Right.
that's not necessarily good.
Mhm.
You might have not much return. You just do more effort.
Mhm.
Whereas scale actually says, I want to get more benefit with less
Yes.
time,
Yes.
money, and energy involved. Now, that's
That's
a
key.
win for
Yeah.
me because I'm also a nana now, got two little granddaughters. I want to have this extra time that, can go to reading groups, or I can drop them back and forth to school or kindy. I want to
Yes.
be able to travel. I want to be able to be there with my 5 adult children, to be available, as well as running, 4 companies. Um, I want to be able to have this flexibility. So things like, in a business way, scaling books, I think are super powerful because they teach you principles of knowing what you want, and you're looking for efficiency and clarity. So I think the
Mhm.
two words that you're looking for is anything that gives you clarity and efficiency of
Mm.
getting to that goal in a better way.
Right.
And then those any movie, that actually just shows you that they had a focus, and then they had to work out, the way of making the impossible possible. And it's
Mhm.
generally always going to be because that you need to have a leader. You need to have
Mhm.
someone who, and I'm that for many people now, that I go, oh, I believe it, I see it, this is the plan, right? Because I'm a
Mhm.
strategist. But then I go, but it's not about me. I can help you because ultimately, as a leader, you lead, and you lead by example out the front. And then what I learned as being a CEO is I then need to get those people to a stage that I actually lead them from behind. All
Right.
right. Like a lion.
Mhm.
If you watch lions, they will walk, 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 walk. And then the male lions, they go behind the pack. And what
Mhm.
they're doing is they have a presence, and they steer because they watch the way, they watch the environment. And if
Mhm.
anything's happening, they can see from behind, or everyone in their group, everyone who's steering a little bit left or right, and they can grunt or do something rather to go, hey, let's just stay on the course, let's stay on the course. And that's what I actually love about my leadership model that I've learned. So any book or movie that sort of shows that kind of principle, that says, right, you've got someone who's gone out and said, this is what we want. And then it says, I need to bring in the collective, whether it's Obama's people power movement of going, you know what, we deserve better and we should unite together because there's power in numbers, or
Mhm.
whether it's in a movie that's got a company that went and said, no, we're going to be the best, or whether it's a culture. Look what's happening in the war in Ukraine at the moment. You're seeing
Mhm.
that live. It's almost like a live narrative of this
Mhm.
happening. This that their president has gone and said, "Wow, you thought we were easy picking, but that he's gone people power." So he's
Yeah.
done that with his
Yeah.
own people. But what has he also done as a leader? He's then gone and made sure that he gets spent some of his money to go out and suddenly seeing in America and at United
Mhm.
Nations meetings and this and that, because he knows the power of the collective.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So this
Right.
is, so I know I haven't answered you in
Mhm.
specific books. Sorry about that. I
No,
kind of
that's okay. It's it.
but I get attracted to real life situations, movies, books, even poetry, people who have got that kind of way that they operate, that
Mhm.
they're looking for, they know what the end goal should be, they believe it. You
Mhm.
only ever achieve what you believe. All
Right.
right. So you want to write that one down,
Yeah.
everybody.
Right.
Um,
Say that. You say
you know,
that again.
yeah,
Yeah.
you've got to believe. You can say it two ways. You've got to believe
Mhm.
to achieve. So
Hmm.
put that on a post-it note on in
Yes.
front of it. You've got to believe to achieve. If you don't believe it, you will not achieve it. If you don't believe in it's supposed to be there, you'll have imposter syndrome. If
Hmm.
you don't believe that you're going to win the war, you're not going to win the war. Because if
Yeah.
you are the person leading your situation, other people, if you don't believe it, why would anyone else believe it?
Yes.
They can
Hmm.
smell your fear. They can see your BS radar, lit up. They won't be with you. Whereas if
Yes.
you believe it is possible, and then you find a strategy, you find ways that people can do the smallest bit to help you, and it makes a difference, save the
Hmm.
planet, save the whales, do whatever,
It's
then
amazing.
people power goes and says, oh, I can be part of that really cool vision, right? And
Yes.
then you can then set it all up, and then you can swing around the back and go, hey peeps, yeah, you're great, you keep doing that, and you keep doing this, and you can orchestrate while reading the game. And those people, that activates the scale mindset. That goes and says, I spend more time orchestrating, assessing, and monitoring as a leader, as a manager, rather than doing. All right.
Hmm.
Like a true
Hmm.
CEO, leader should be like 80% should be reading and assessing and monitoring,
Hmm.
20% doing your niche areas that no one else can do, the 80-20
Yes.
rule. So I love watching that play out, and I'm watching that in Ukraine at the moment, and I'm really inspired by the leader, because
Hmm.
I'm leading right at the front when necessary, does the key things,
Hmm.
and most of the time he's going, go troops, go helpers, this is what I need, this is what I want, because he's actually hanging at
Brilliant.
the back. He
Yeah.
pops up at the front and then he
Hmm.
swings around at the back. I
Just
absolutely
like the lion.
love that. He's a lion.
Just
I know.
like the
I'm
lion.
the
Yeah.
lioness, right? I'm
Yeah.
that person.
Well, I mean, you have your own people power going on within your business. So I mean, for people who are listening, if they would want, I don't know if you are taking on new people or the programs. I know you have programs
Yeah.
available that perhaps they could go and purchase. What are some of the things that people could find with you? Where can they find you? Could you tell us a
Oh,
little bit more about that?
thank you. That's such a lovely opportunity. So my website is womensbizglobal.com. And so when you go there, you'll see that it's all about, the main banner will say branded, get branded for success. Because I believe everybody is a brand. You just need to know who is brand Jolie, who is brand Annie, who is brand Mary, Jenny, whatever. What does that mean? And so that might be personal, might be professional. Hopefully it's both. If you can
Mhm.
get your personal brand and your professional brand united, oh my goodness, that's such a sweet space to be in.
Yes.
So that's the dream, right? Because
Yes,
then
it
you
is.
really do turn up to work and love your life and do everything all at
Mhm.
the same time.
Lots of joy.
So my main opportunity is then doing that 12-month mentor and coaching program called
Mhm.
Branded for Success. So that is where definitely I would love to have anyone who's interested in that. I can do that. But and then I've got startup incubators, scale up incubators, business domination incubators. I've got mindset courses. I've got, you can be on my TV show, podcast, magazine. I've got a magazine called Women's Biz Magazine. So if you're looking at global elevation of your brand, or if you're, because you've got a brand and you're just like, oh, I wrote a book and then it kind of got excited and then nothing happened with it, or I created something and the buzz is gone.
Mhm.
That's my specialty, of actually helping you take that on
Oh,
steroids,
beautiful.
and making that happen. And we can do all that within Women's Biz Global. And then I've also got people right at the other end who are just that person going, I don't even know who I am, but I want to be that person. I have these
Mhm.
thoughts, have these
Mhm.
feelings,
Yeah.
believe I'm more. Oh my goodness, I love, love, love meeting those people, because that's just pure joy to unpack your true essence and then
I
structure. Oh
Yeah.
my
It's
goodness,
so exciting.
that just cranks up my Annie energy to Oprah level of
Yeah.
woohoo,
I agree.
because that's just, beyond belief, because that just makes my little young self do a jig.
Yeah.
What do people want to do though? They can just book a 20-minute free call with me. So on my
Perfect.
website, it'll be just book a free Zoom. We can have a little chat, and then I'll basically just do a 20-minute get to know you and a little, what I call a success audit. How are you
Mhm.
running your life, and how are you measuring that success, and what would you like it to look like? And I actually use 3 words: success, balance, and happiness. I don't just go for
Mhm.
success. I want to make sure
Mhm.
that you're balanced. And what
Yes.
does balance mean to you? And ultimately, what's going to make you happy? Because of what
Yes.
we've been talking about today, I want to be that
100%.
happy 85-year-old nana who goes and says, "Darn, Annie, who would have thought you've done it all? I'm happy with that," right?
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
so I want that, and I want to be balanced because I don't want my kids going, "Mum's self-obsessed and never is here for us," or there's collateral and burnout. The amount of people who just
Hmm.
burn themselves out in cycles, not good. So success, balance, and happiness. If you'd love to chat about what that means to you, then definitely just contact me via womensbizglobal.com and we'll take it from there.
Perfect. And I'll add the links and the show notes as well. So I loved this talk. I can't even tell you how many gold nuggets were through this conversation. It was amazing. Before we go, my last question. What are you sure of in life?
I'm sure on my ability to actually do anything that
Mhm.
excites my heart.
Mhm.
If my family, my friends, my job opportunities, my travel, if anything pops into my mind and it says, Annie, you want to do that. It's popped in that mind for a reason. And if I explore it and it's a healthy thing for me, not that everything that pops into my mind is healthy, sometimes it's just crazy stuff that actually is crazy stuff because we're all a little bit,
Yeah.
But if it actually excites my heart, if I sleep on it and I get more and more excited, if I dream
Mhm.
about it and my little heart starts racing and I definitely spark joy, then I am sure without doubt that it is meant to be, and I
Yes.
will pursue it. I will make it happen. I will move mountains. I am sure that those mountains are actually, most of them are just fake views of what is possible. What I've known is that mountains push and slide and move and sometimes are not even there. We create our own mountains. And so I am sure that I basically can just keep shifting my landscape to have the life that I'm wanting to have, and I can also help other people along the way to get that mindset that says nothing's impossible. Right? I love
Right.
that. Is it Catherine Hepburn who
I
says
love that.
impossible means I am possible? I love
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Right? But that's true. So they're not just quotes. It's like, yeah, who said it was impossible? I am sure now at this stage of my life, because I have seen so many impossible things become possible, that it really is just start thinking like a queen with the diamonds in the pocket.
Yes.
It is all possible. Let me tell
It
you.
is.
What is not
Oh,
possible? Nothing.
so
I
good.
am sure about that. Catherine was right.
So good. I love how you said shifting your landscape too. That was very beautiful. When you're moving mountains, you're consistently shifting your landscape. That's great.
Push it all out of the way.
Yeah. What a great talk. Thank you
Uh,
so much for your time, Annie. I appreciate it.
thank you for having me on your program. It's been just such a joy. And yeah, I hope that's added incredible value to your listeners.